Hello. Today we're going to be talking about the Session Initiation Protocol, or SIP. So SIP, or the Session Initiation Protocol, is a telecom protocol or a standard that is involved in the establishment and teardown of a communications session. Now, when we talk about sessions in this case, what we're referring to is a voice or a video call as well as an instant messaging conversation. Unlike with older telecom protocols or standards, SIP itself is written in plain text, which means that there is no specialized hardware or software that we need in order to be able to decode or read SIP messaging. Now, even though I've just said that SIP itself is written in plain text, that doesn't mean you can't protect it from spying. What it does mean is that you'd have to enable or set up encryption or TLS between the parties involved with or involved in a SIP call in order to protect it from other people being able to read or see those messages. SIP itself is written in plain text, and if it's not encrypted, anyone who has access to the network or the connection between two parties in a phone call will be able to see all of the SIP messaging, but you can protect it with encryption. Now, SIP itself can be broadly categorized into two different groups of message types. You'll either have a SIP request or a SIP response, and that's going to be dependent on the message's function. So the first type of SIP message is what's called a SIP request, and requests are SIP messages that attempt to do something. This something could be starting a call, it could be acknowledging the successful startup of a call, or it could be things like just simply tearing down a call. Anytime there's some sort of action that is required on an active call or to set up a call, a SIP request is needed in order to be able to perform that particular action. When it comes to SIP requests, there are several that are defined within the SIP RFC, but we're going to focus on three particular ones as part of this session. So the first SIP request that we're going to talk about is what's known as the SIP invite. So the SIP invite is probably one of, if not the most important SIP message that exists, because without an invite, voice calls, video calls, conferences, none of these would work without an associated invite in order to initiate or begin that particular call type. So the invite is absolutely the most important SIP message that exists. One of the other requests that is very, very important is what's called the SIP ACK message. And the ACK function is to confirm initial call setup has been completed. The last SIP request that we're going to talk about is what's called a SIP BY, and you can probably guess as to the SIP BY's function. It's used whenever a call is ready to be ended or torn down. The other type of SIP messages that you might come across are what's known as SIP responses. Now, responses very broadly will tell you something about the state or the status of a call. Every SIP response that you will come across can be broadly put into one of 6 families or categories of responses. And importantly, when we talk about SIP responses, every SIP response is going to have a numeric code that goes along with it, as well as what's called a reason phrase. And this will become a little clearer in a couple of moments. But when we talk about the 6 categories or families, we have our 100 series responses, what are known as provisional responses. These responses exist in the period of time during a call, during the initial call setup. So An invite is sent out, and before that invite's final response is received, if there are updates or status changes that need to be done, a provisional response is used to update or communicate those changes or updates. So the provisional response exists between when an invite is sent out before either a successful response is received or an error is received. I did just briefly mention the successful response, and conveniently that is our next family. So we have our 200 series responses or a successful response. You will see successful responses throughout any interaction between a request and its response. So a successful response confirms that whatever the request is, invite, buy, and so on, that these messages have been successfully handled by the receiver, and the 200 OK is how the receiver tells the sender, I've received your request and I have successfully actioned that request. The next category of responses are the redirect responses. These are a little unique in their function, but basically they're used anytime a caller places a call out to the called party, and that called party has moved to a different location. And location, in this case, you can just take that to mean IP address. So you make a call out to a particular number or extension within your PBX. These redirect responses can be used to say, hey, this user who used to be at this particular IP address has moved to a different IP address, and you can reach them there. So the redirect responses is specifically used whenever a user has changed IP address or moved to potentially a different office. The last three types of responses here, the 400 series, 500 series, and 600 series, are the three different categories for errors within the SIP world. We'll talk a little bit more about these on the next section. So the 4, 5, and 600 series responses are the specific error codes that SIP uses to indicate that some kind of problem has occurred within a SIP call. The most common of these error responses are what are known as the 400 series or the client failure responses. So the 400 series response is commonly going to be seen, or you'll come across what's known as a 404 not found response. Oftentimes we see this whenever some sort of device, a server, a router, is unable to route a call due to incorrect or missing configuration. So the server was able to receive that request, but based on the way the request was meant to be routed, the server is unable to do that because it's missing or has incorrect configuration. Now, there are a number of different other types of 400 series responses, but they all kind of boil down to the same sort of thing, that there is some sort of device within the connections between caller and callee that is unable to handle or send out that request. Now, sometimes the 400 series response will be generated because, not necessarily due to some sort of error or issue, but simply because additional information is needed from the calling party. So very specifically, what we are thinking about here is something like the 401 unauthorized response. Now, the 401 unauthorized is a commonly seen 400 series response whenever there is a need for credentials to be provided by the calling party. So you attempt to make an outgoing call, and one of the servers between you and the person you're trying to reach needs you to authenticate to it. A 401 unauthorized response can be used to tell your phone to send out your username and password. So just because you see an error response in the SIP world, an error does not immediately mean there is some sort of problem that requires action on our part to correct. It could just be the system's way of telling you, hey, your phone needs to provide us with your entered username and password. Both the 500 and 600 series responses are used in cases where there is actually some kind of problem that needs to be addressed. The 500 series response as a server failure response is specifically used whenever the server has understood what it is supposed to do, but there's some underlying reason as to why it can't complete or fulfill the request. There are a number of different potential causes for a 500 series response. Commonly, it's because the server knows where it's supposed to route a message to, for example, but is unable to reach that destination. So it could be due to a network or a connectivity issue of some kind. The 600 series failure response, or the global failure response, is commonly seen whenever a call goes out to a service provider, and for some reason that service provider is unable to fulfill that request. There could be a number of different potential causes or explanations. The most common reason I've seen is when a call goes out to the service provider and the service provider is configured to send that call right back to the source that this call came from. A lot of times, service providers don't like having calls come into them, and they're asked to send the call right back to the same location. So these global failure responses are often used by service providers to indicate to callers, hey, you're supposed to route this call internally. Now, what does a basic SIP call look like? Well, this is the very basic structure of every single SIP call. You'll have an invite that is generated by the caller, so they'll dial a number on their phone. The invite will be generated and created based on that dialed number, and then the invite will be sent towards the called party. Now, upon receipt of that invite, the called party will generate a 100 trying provisional response and send that back to the caller. This 100 trying basically tells the caller, I've received your invite, let me begin processing it and working on it. Once the called party has finished processing the invite, assuming there are no issues or errors that have to be sent out, a 200 OK will be generated by the called party that'll be sent back to the caller. Once the caller receives that 200 OK, the caller will generate an ACK and send it out to the called party. And as soon as that ACK is received by the called party, your voice call or your video call has been successfully established, and you are now able to talk to whomever you dialed. Once the conversation is finished, either party can hang up. Whoever hangs up first, their phone will generate a bye message that is sent to the far end. The far end, upon receiving that bye message, will generate a 200 OK and send it back to the party at the far end. So putting all of this together, invite is sent out from the called party to the caller. 100 trying and a 200 OK will then be generated from the called party. That'll be sent back to the caller. And that will be created by the caller, sent it to the called party. And then once the conversation has been finished, a bye message will be generated and a 200 OK will be created and sent to the sender of the bye. Putting all of this together now, SIP is a telecommunications protocol that is involved in the setup and teardown of a communication session. Again, voice, video calls, or instant messaging session. SIP itself is built in plain text, meaning that there's no specialized hardware or software needed to decode or read SIP messaging. although obviously you can encrypt SIP messaging if you wish. And a basic SIP call flow will always include an invite, a 200 OK, ACK, and a buy message. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for today's session, and we will see you in the next one.